Okay, so let's start. Today is our last class. Okay, this is going to be our last class. In the previous classes, first we have seen AI application. One of the application we have seen earlier was computer vision. One of the major application of AI was computer vision. And to understand how computer vision techniques works, we take another lecture on CNN. Introductory, very introductory, convolutional neural network operations. Achha. Today, we are going to look at another AI application that's called natural language processing. In short, NLP. Natural language processing, or in short, NLP. NLP has become extremely important, okay, for various reasons you can understand. So basically, this one actually deals with our language. So that makes it extremely complicated. Why complicated? You see, when it comes to computer vision, that is actually basically with images. When it was image, you can think of it like this way. This is actually universal. Universal means if you take an image of a cat, okay, image of a dog, or let's say even a movie scene, let's say some characters like, for instance, let's say Batman. Okay, so these things are universal, means anywhere in the world cat looks the same thing. For everyone cat is the same thing. Dog is a dog, Batman is Batman. Okay, so basically the image, actually whatever the image represents, is universal all over the world. But what makes language even more complicated, because you see, language is very different. Okay, we speak Bengali. Okay, now I am talking or taking the classes in English. Okay, then you have a huge population, whole lot of population is speaking Chinese, one of the largest languages. Okay, billions more, over a billion people speak Chinese. Now, then you have hundreds of other languages. So Hindi, Hindi. Then you have Urdu. Okay, then you have French. Okay, Spanish. Okay, some of the foreigners may speak Spanish. So basically, language is different. Okay, if I say something, it is extremely different based on language. Okay, the same thing will vary based on language. That makes that makes the task very complicated. Some of the techniques that is applicable for Bengali language, to translate in language in another language like English takes a whole lot of approaches. Okay, things differ, a whole lot differ. So we want to understand that how AI is applied in this task, natural language processing. These are more of introductory rather than more details. We want to understand how this application actually looks like, since they are very important application. And in your future career, like for your master's or PhD, you might want to work on those things, on those fields. So I will give you some introductory idea. Okay. So hopefully for computer vision, you got a very good idea about different applications. NLP, since it is much more complicated, the techniques that are used, the basic techniques are called RNN, or recurrent neural network. This is called recurrent neural network, followed by some of the modification. Modification মধ্যে আছে, for instance, LSTM. And then at last, you have transformers, new edition transformers. So these techniques are much more complex and complicated to understand compared to CNN. Okay, so we'll not take another class. Okay, our class নিব না, সমস্যা নেই. You don't have to study these things. So these are a variation. Just like CNN, we have seen one variation. We have a feature extraction task. So similar to that one, we have some other techniques that is needed for the machine learning algorithm to learn from language. Okay, for those things, you have these networks like recurrent neural networks, long short-term memory. Now we have transformers. It's like that. আচ্ছা. Now, so we'll start to try to understand NLP and how this field actually looks like. Any question? কারো কোনো question? Okay. অনেকে আসো না নাই?
আচ্ছা স্যার।
আছো?
Sir, CNN or ANN, these two are for images, and NLP, this is for language. Is it something like this?
না, ANN is the fundamental block. You can think of it like the fundamental block of deep learning. Because that we use artificial neural network. Okay. When the application is image, ANN cannot function directly. So we have to put a feature extraction block. So due to this operation, like convolution operation, this is CNN plus ANN. First we use a convolution operation, then we use ANN. So that is why it is for image task. Convolutional neural network. For NLP task, you have RNN plus ANN. Okay. RNN is for learning patterns, ANN is for classification. Okay. ANN is the classification part always. But
Sir,
due to
মানে 0 আর 1 এরকম।
হ্যাঁ 0 and 1 যেটা ক্লাসিফিকেশন করার জন্য যেটুকু লাগে সেটা হচ্ছে এনএন পার্ট। ইমেজ থেকে হাউ উই ক্যান লার্ন ফ্রম ইমেজ, দ্যাটস ওয়াই ইউ হ্যাভ সিএনএন। হাউ উই ক্যান লার্ন ফ্রম এ ল্যাঙ্গুয়েজ, দ্যাটস ওয়াই ইউ হ্যাভ আরএনএন। ওকে, আচ্ছা। নাও can you see the screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So let's look at this one, AI application, natural language processing. আচ্ছা, try to understand, it's not very difficult, it's easier to understand. আচ্ছা, now look at this sentence, everyone. Read the sentence and try to understand what might be the meaning of this sentence. What do you think? Let me know. What do you think from just from the speech, and what do you think just from the image? You can write a comment if you like. That's also fine. বলো কেউ একজন। Arise, arise, riders of Theoden. Anyone?
কমান্ডার স্যার সোলজারদেরকে মানে কমান্ড দিচ্ছে, ইন্সপায়ার করতেছে, অ্যাটাক করবে
Command
ভয়
দিচ্ছে, হ্যাঁ।
দেখাচ্ছে।
Did you see the movie? Sir, what game is this? No, it is not from a game. It's from a movie. Lord of the Rings. Acha. Now, you see, if you just look at the speech, the sentence, and I assume that most of you have not seen the movie, so things like this, think of like this way. What is the literal meaning that you can find? It's like arise, arise. Jege oto, things like that. Riders of Theoden of Rohan. So then you can see right now and death, death, death. Just chanting. So if you look at the meaning of it, it looks something like this. Calling for someone's death. If you just look at the literal meaning of the last one, it might be calling for someone's death. Acha. Feeling like someone is shouting. Yes, it looks like someone is actually shouting something. Someone is asking others to ride with him because it is saying, ride, ride, ride with me right now. Okay. To fight, maybe to war. So it's like a battle cry. Now, you see, the context is actually very important. Without proper context or knowledge, you will not be able to understand the proper meaning of the situation, the severity of the situation. Try to understand. When it comes to an image, looking at an image, it looks like someone is actually holding a sword and riding to battle. So things like that. It's very, just from visual, it's very easy to understand. But when it comes to language can be very tricky. Okay. We express our ideas through language in many different ways. Okay. That makes the task much more complex. We'll see how it gets more and more complex. Okay. So you can see, you know the grammatical or structural meaning, but not the conceptual meaning. Okay. So to understand the conceptual meaning, you might need the context as well. You need the context to understand. Acha. So you see, this is a very dramatic scene, like one of the most influential moment. But just by looking at the sentence, you have no idea. Acha. That will become important a little bit later. Okay, I will show you a little bit later. Now, look at this one. I think you know this one. Bella Ciao, Bella Ciao. Okay. Bella Ciao, Ciao, Ciao. What is the meaning of this? কেউ বলতে পারবে এটার মানে কি? I guess half of you have seen the movie or the series. What is the meaning of this? কে জানো?
Beautiful goodbye.
Beautiful
Goodbye.
goodbye, yeah, right. Goodbye, beautiful. Acha. Now the reason we don't know the meaning, because this is not our language. You know Bengali, you know English, but you don't know this particular language. Can you tell me what language is this?
Italian.
Italian. Acha. So you probably have some idea. If you don't have idea, you will not have any clue what this language is either. So if you don't have clue, a human being so much complex, how will AI know what this language is? আমার কথা বোঝা যাচ্ছে? You see, when it comes to AI, we try to mimic human behavior. Okay. Just by looking at an image, I can see it's a cat. So we are trying to mimic that. So when it comes to language, even human beings, for human beings, it's difficult to comprehend many things. So for AI, you can think training an AI things can get even more complex. Okay, that's why the evolution of NLP actually happened after CNN, like it was in 2018. I would say after 2017 or 18. Then NLP actually started to catch on, and after 2020, NLP actually got really good. Now we have very good NLP systems. Okay, you have the chatbot, for instance. Chatbot is like one of the highest example of NLP. So we'll see how actually it works. So what is the meaning of this? This is an Italian song, a folk song. And you see, if you don't know this, okay, it is very difficult to make sense of the meaning. Even the structural meaning is unknown to you because of the language barrier. If it is from a different language, you will not know. Okay, so language is another criteria that is added when it comes to NLP. And that is a very important factor. Why it is important factor, let me know. Let me explain. So when research is done at first in NLP, it was done mostly on English. So after that, when English actually research has gone so long in English, but then researchers start to work with their own language. So people started working on Bengali language. And at that time, when in 2018 and 19, some of the researchers who are working on NLP, they are like publishing so many papers because in Bengali, something is established in English, but for Bengali language, things are entirely different. You have to train the algorithms in a whole different way. The data collection is completely different. And the various things that will come later, they are very different. So by language and language, things gets extremely different. The algorithms tends to become different, the training becomes different, so all the things becomes different. Acha, we'll see a little bit later. Acha, now, the meaning. Now, you see, I'm saying about two meanings. Two meanings means a sentence can have a contextual meaning, that means the grammatical meaning, exact meaning. So the exact meaning is goodbye, beautiful. But since it's a poem, like a poet actually write these things, there is a feeling, okay, behind. So the contextual meaning is goodbye to a loved one. So the song actually came from World War II, okay, during the Italian resistance. Okay, he actually meant that he may die in the battle, so it was like a farewell song. Now, acha. In the last class, we have seen how to make sense of images, sort of unstructured data. Okay, language is also an unstructured data. Think of it like this way. In the image, what do you have? Image কি ছিল? Numbers or pixel values, right? An image was basically a pixel value, nothing else. What about NLP? Do you have pixel values, numerical values? আছে?
No, sir.
No,
No,
sir.
sir.
No. So we don't even have numerical values. See, in image, we at least have the numerical values, so we can actually do something with it. But when it comes to language, we don't have numerical values. Without numerical values, your machine cannot process anything. A computer processor can only function on numerical values. So when it comes to NLP, when it comes to language, we don't even have that. So things are going to get a little bit complex. Acha. It is easier to interpret images, okay? It is far more complicated to interpret language without, and especially even without a language boundary. And this comes from a simple fact. We can express our ideas or feelings more easily through language compared to images. Okay. Acha, let's see. So NLP is like the area where we actually work with human language. Human language is complex, ambiguous, context dependent. So that makes it very complicated. And it combines computer science, not just machine learning. To work in NLP, only machine learning is not enough. You need computer science techniques, you need machine learning techniques, you need linguistics as well. That's one criteria. Because let's say you are a engineer, NLP engineer. You know English, you know Bangla, you can actually train your model, but you don't know Arabic, you don't know Hindi. it will become very difficult for you to work in Hindi language or Arabic language or Chinese language because you don't know the language. And due to the difference in linguistics, things will become much more complicated. Even an NLP scientist cannot work with other language that he does not know. That's why it gets more complicated. Okay. Acha. Any question up to now? Any question?
Sir,
হ্যাঁ,
sir, earlier you said that ANN is for both images and NLPs as well.
for last
So
part, classification, last.
হ্যাঁ, তো ANN এর তো ওইটা তো পিক্সেল ভ্যালুই না, মানে 0 আর 1,
No,
আর ওটা তো
when you feed to ANN, লাস্টের ক্লাস করছিলা 24। See, this is the ANN part. Before we feeding the data to ANN, we are not directly feeding image to ANN. We are performing the convolution operation to extract features. এই যে এগুলা হচ্ছে features. We are feeding the features to a ANN. Then ANN can classify. Okay. So ANN for the classification part, that means it needs the features, direct features. To extract feature from an image, we need this portion, convolution operation. Similarly, from natural language processing, we need to do some things. We'll see different tasks. To do those tasks, we need some kind of feature. You can think of it like this way. We need to go this far. After that, ANN can work. But before that, you need something different. Okay.
ওকে স্যার।
Answer. Now, what does it mean? Oka? This is another language, something unknown to us. বলতে পারবা?
Respect to you, sir.
হ্যাঁ?
Respect to you, sir. I mean,
Now, you see, there was a IUTN graduate. Okay, I think it is in Europe. I forgot. Netherlands, I think. One of our senior brothers. He was working with dead language. দেখছি না? Tripoli, it came in the news as well as all ITNs. So he's working in the dead language that was found in the bottom of the ocean. Okay. Dead scrolls বলা হচ্ছিল. Okay. So he was working in NLP, things like that. How to translate the dead language, something like this. Very complicated task, but some interesting research. Acha. Let's see some of the examples of NLP systems. Chatbots. Chatbots means your chat GPT or Gemini. So these are chatbots. You see, chatbots not only find the answer, they also give you the answer as well. So they actually write a speech. They can write a passage. So that's one. Machine translation. Machine translation means translating one language to another, English to Bangla, so Bangla to Arabic, things like this. Sentiment analysis. Sentiment analysis is trying to understand the sentiment behind your speech. Let's say if you say this course is very difficult, so your sentiment is that negative sentiment. Okay, things like that. It's speech recognition is whatever I'm saying, trying to translate it automatically. Not translate, actually, I would say, like the subtitle, automatically creating subtitle. Now, YouTube, you will see, if you look at the videos from YouTube, the automatic subtitle generation has become very good. 5 years ago, it was not that good. It is getting better, but it's still not that good because speech recognition is much more complex. People talks in many different ways. So text summarization, that means let's say I give you a passage. Yeah, you give this passage to the ChatGPT and tell you to summarize it in few sentences. So that's text summarization. And text classification, question answering. Acha, let's see. Now representation. Acha. Computers naturally understand numbers. Okay. So not human language. They cannot understand human language. So numbers. And image, we have pixel values. Within the pixel values, the information is located. Okay. And through convolution operation, we try to identify those information. Acha. But language, we don't have numbers. So we have to convert it into some form of numerical representation. Okay. So before you can actually feed your data into RNN or transformers, this process is done. From language, some conversion to numerical representation. We'll see later how it is done. Okay. Only then machine learning can process it. Acha. Before that is a bit deeper. So before you go there, we'll look at some example. Now, when it comes to language, there are two important parts. One is called syntax. Another one is called semantics. Acha. What is syntax? Syntax is the sentence structure. Okay. It focuses on the structure of the language. That means I want to make make the sentence grammatically accurate. Okay. So look at this one. Logan, you still have time. Is it grammatically accurate? Bolo?
Yes, sir.
Yes. The table ate the sandwich. Accurate?
No, sir.
No,
Grammatically accurate.
Grammatically accurate.
meaning is not there.
Meaning is different, but grammatically accurate. Understand? Syntax means grammar. Whether it is perfectly placed, the words are perfectly placed, the punctuations are properly placed. That's the grammar. Whether the grammar is accurate or not. That's the syntax. He drank the computer. Very nice. Grammatical accurate, but she go to school yesterday. Accurate হচ্ছে?
No, sir.
No, sir.
Why not?
No, grammar is wrong here.
Went.
She went to school yesterday. Yes, it has to be past tense, not present tense. So it raining is, no, it is raining. So basically, syntax actually deals with the structure of the language, the grammatical structure. If the AI wants to create a sentence, it has to be grammatically accurate. Or so sometimes, let's say, ওটাকে জানি কি বলে? Grammarly, it checks the grammar of the sentence, if the sentences are accurate or not. So that's the task, that's the syntax. Okay, that's one part of language. So sentence structure have some predefined rules. For instance, subject, then comes verb, then comes object. Also, there are some punctuation rules, many rules, hundreds of rules. AI must not make such grammatical error. They must make grammatically accurate sentences. So whenever ChatGPT is like creating a sentence, they tend to be almost 99% of the time grammatically accurate. Achha. Now here is the catch. Try to understand. It's a predefined rules. So the predefined rules for English language, let's say, subject, then verb, then object. So he drank the computer. Subject, then verb, then object. Okay, that's how the sentence actually goes. She went to school yesterday. She went to school yesterday. Achha. Then adjective. Now, these rules, the rule that you have for English language, will you have the same rule for Bangla language?
No, sir.
এই যে এখানে চেঞ্জ আসলো, yes, the rules will be different from different language. Okay, আমি ভাত খাই নাই, I have not eaten. So these things are different. So that's why from language to language, things will get much more different. That's why I said, if you don't have the language, if you don't know Arabic, you cannot be a NLP engineer for Arabic language. It is very difficult. Okay, so you have to understand the rules that you have. That's the very fundamental level. You have to understand the syntax. Achha. And from language to language, the syntax will vary. Now, another part is semantics. Semantics is the meaning, understanding what the words are, okay, what the sentence actually mean. A sentence needs to be grammatically correct, but also provide some valid meaning. Okay, so a sentence can be syntactically correct, but can still be semantically wrong. The meaning may not make sense. So for instance, the table at the sandwich, it is syntactically correct, but it is semantically wrong because it is not possible, right? ঠিক আছে? He drank the computer. It is grammatically correct, but the semantics wrong. Logan, we still have time. Is it correct?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, it is correct for both ways, both syntax and semantics. Now my question is, এই যে এখানে দেখলাম that he drank the computer. So I understand that, yeah, I can tell AI that, okay, these are the rules for syntax, subject plus verb plus object. He can actually find he drank the computer. Okay, it is syntactically correct. But how the AI will know computer is something you cannot drink? Okay, sandwich is something you can eat, but a table cannot eat. How the AI will know? আমার কথা বোঝা যাচ্ছে?
Yes, sir.
It is very difficult to teach the AI the meaning of things. Extremely difficult. Then how you can actually make the AI to understand that? কিভাবে করব? That's where actually machine learning comes in. It is not possible. By general rule, you cannot create thousands of rules. You cannot, there are so many objects possible. You cannot make rules for every one of them. So it is not possible to do by rules. That's where machine learning actually comes in. And that's why machine learning got actually so good, okay, so popular, because you see, it is very difficult for the AI to make sense of it. But in machine learning, what we do, we give it a large corpus, thousands of pages of books, okay, articles, newspaper articles, everything. When he reads so many things, he actually tries to find, okay, he got the idea. What can be the drunk object? তাই না? Think of it like this way. তুমি যদি 1000টা বই পড়ো, কোন জিনিসগুলো হচ্ছে ড্রিঙ্ক করা যাবে, you can actually make a map. I can drink water, I can drink soda or wine, things like that. There are some fixed things. Computer is will never going to be in that thousands and thousands of corpus. Computer is never supposed to be drunk. That's how AI can actually learn from experience, from learning, reading through all those chapters and chapters after chapters, books after books. He gets an idea that what are the items that can be drunk, okay, things like that. Okay, that's where the semantics comes from. Okay. Is it clear? আমার কথা কি বোঝা গেছে? Is the concept clear?
Yes.
Semantics
Yes, sir.
Yes,
স্যার
sir.
এখানে কি
and how I
রিইনফোর্সড
can,
লার্নিং ইউজ করা হয়?
হ্যাঁ বলো,
রিইনফোর্সড লার্নিং ইউজ করা হয়?
reinforcement learning.
জি স্যার।
No, not reinforcement learning, not for this task. Reinforcement learning is something different. Okay, it is about making decision in a particular area. Think of it like a robot making a decision for an unknown scenario. But that's not NLP. That's completely different task. Okay, so reinforcement learning has some particular area, especially for automation tasks. But NLP is completely different area. So এখানে reinforcement learning অতটা ইউজ করার কোনো স্কোপ নাই। আচ্ছা, now when it comes to semantics, it is very much more deeper. How? You see, there can be ambiguity. Not some, there are always some ambiguity involved. For instance, the bank is closed. আচ্ছা, the bank actually refers to the literal meaning of bank. It can be a financial institution. It can also be a river bank. So the context is important. The bank is closed means what? Whether it is meaning a financial institution that is closed, or the river bank is like closed due to mud or something like this. So for any word, you know that there are multiple meanings for a same word. A word can have multiple meanings, and depending on the context, the meaning can actually change. So AI need to understand that as well. Okay, for a word, okay, বুঝলাম যে you have Oxford dictionary, you have the meanings. Now, even with those predefined meanings, there can be multiple meanings. So AI need to understand which meaning is applied in which scenario. That makes actually much more difficult. So semantics actually require deeper interpretation. Okay. So the training process of, you can automatically understand the training process of this NLP is even more complex, even more time consuming, require much more resources compared to CNN. Images চাইতে NLP আরো বেশি কঠিন। আচ্ছা, I need to understand, identify which sentence is valid, meaningful, or invalid. You need to understand the semantics as well. Okay. Now, levels of NLP. Phonology, that's like the very fundamental level. চিন্তা করার কিছু নেই। Morphology is the word formulation. Okay. Syntax and semantics, what we actually told earlier. Okay. After that, after this 4 level, we have after this, there are more pragmatics. Pragmatics means the meaning in context. Okay. So how much applicable in a particular scenario that word or sentence is. Sometimes you can understand. You might ask ChatGPT a question, but it falsely identify the question. Funny? Have you faced some scenario like this?
Yes sir.
This person অবশ্যই face করার কথা. So if you work with ChatGPT, so you probably have faced something scenario that it is not understanding the context what you are actually meaning. So that is the pragmatic. It also needs to understand the context. Then you have to give it the context. For based on this context, I'm saying this. Okay, then you can ask. Relation, discourse is acha, এটা আসবে আস্তে আস্তে. Now look at this one. So this is another language, something you don't know. Dohairas Fegar Likiri. Acha. Now this is from Valerian, another language, something you don't know. If I translate it, it goes like this. Calm down, Vegar, that's the name, and obey me. Okay. So you see, this is another sentence structure that comes like verb and plus object. Previously, we saw earlier, one was first you have the noun, মনে আছে? না একটু দেখেছিলাম, subject, then verb, then object. So there is another rule. Verb, then object. It can also. So obey me. Me is the object, obey is the verb. So a sentence can work, start like this as well. So basically, you can see there can be different rules like this. আমার কথা কি বোঝা যাচ্ছে? The sentence structure can have multiple rules. Like if you have sentence verb, then you can have adjective. If you have something before that, it can have an adverb, then adjective, things like that. You have studied these things, I think, previously. So this is called context-free grammar. Okay, or CFG. Context-free grammar is basically the structure of the language. Okay, there are certain rules. Look at this one. The cat drank the milk. Okay, so a sentence can have a noun phrase and a verb phrase. A noun phrase is comprised of an article, then noun. A verb phrase is comprised of a verb phrase and a noun phrase. The noun phrase is comprised of an article and a noun. So these are like a structure like this. So this kind of rules are created. You can actually program it because the number of rules is in the hundreds, not even thousand. Okay, there are some fixed rules in a grammar, but from language to language that may vary. And some language can have more rules than other language. If a language is very complicated, then it will have more rules. So this is context-free grammar. There are Python libraries like NLTK, Natural Language Toolkit বলা হয়, NLTK. If you give it a sentence, it will automatically show you this kind of structure. Okay. Acha. Now, look at this one. If I look at this sentence, cat the sees dog A, is it accurate sentence?
No, sir.
No,
Why
sir.
not? Why not?
Syntax is not correct.
You see, noun phrase comes first. Noun phrase will all has to be comprised of article, then a noun, not the opposite way. First comes the article, then the noun. So cat the হবে না, the cat. Okay. Also dog a হলে হবে না, a dog. Okay. Noun phrase can be also have a determiner than noun. So this is how it actually works. Any sentence you make, it has to follow these rules, the CFG rules. There are hundreds of rules, but one of them has to be matched. If it matches, then you can say the sentence is valid. If it does not match, sentence is invalid. So that's like in the backbone. It is given in the backbone of your, whether you can say ChatGPT or any language profile, that the language, any sentence that you have will always follow these rules. Is it clear? What is CFG?
স্যার রুল গুলা কি কোড করে ইমপ্লিমেন্ট করে নাকি
হ্যাঁ,
ট্রেনিং এর
কোড
মধ্যে?
করে দেওয়া হয়, because you see these rules are fixed for a language, and for another language it will be different. So that's why it is very difficult to say which language this is. So rather than making it automatic, it's much easier to make the rules concrete rules, because these are the sentence structure. এটা এর চেয়ে ডিফারেন্ট কিছু হইতে পারে না। চিন্তা করে দেখো, তুমি যদি চিন্তা করে শুরু করো, তুমি হাতে গোনা 10টা রুলই খুঁজে বের করতে পারবা, তারপর 20টা। So in a very large context there will be hundred rules, not more than that. So we can code it. Okay. It is the meaning we cannot code, because meaning can be very different. ঠিক আছে? আচ্ছা, নাও পড়ো কি দেখা। Now, CFG, okay, context-free grammar, they handle the syntax, that is the first part, but semantics requires mapping those forms to meaningful representation. Okay, it can be done through deep learning. It is done nowadays, it is done through machine learning or deep learning. Prior to deep learning, it was very difficult to actually take care of the semantics. That's why NLP systems were very poor at that time. But gradually it improved. Now we have very nice such NLP pipeline. Okay. So we have seen the machine learning pipeline. So similarly, let's see the NLP pipeline. First, we have the data collection. For this case, you have text data collection. Okay. Then you have text data processing. We'll see the different stages a little bit in more detail. Then you have the text representation. আচ্ছা, text representation, এটা কি আমাদের ছিল machine learning এ? Was it available in machine learning?
No, sir.
No, we did not need representation. Okay, in machine learning, we have the features directly available to us. But here, to make sense of the text, we have to represent it in a numerical way. So that's why the text representation comes. Then you have the NLP models. Achha, for some of the tasks, You can make use of the traditional machine learning, some tasks, not all. But best is deep learning. Okay, you have RNN, you have LSTM, then you have transformers. Okay, let's see data collection. So why do we collect the text data? You can collect it some documents or PDF books. Okay, social media mining. You can mine lots of different uh, posts. Okay, then emails. You have websites. You can directly copy actually a newspaper article. You can directly download newspaper article. So things like that. Speech transcripts like that. That's where the text data actually comes from. Okay. Text data processing. Now, just like you had some pre-processing step for numerical values, the numerical data you have seen, also text data needs to be processed. There are many processing steps. I have shown you some of the important of tokenization. What is tokenization? Tokenization means convert the sentence into words. Okay. So we try to process things based on words. So my name is Maximus, dividing into like this. Lowercase. In some of the application, understand, not all the text processing is for every one of them. For some application, it can be different. Okay. So lowercase, in many of the application, you can say most of the application, you do not need the case. Okay. Uppercase, lowercase, you don't need. If you make it uppercase, capital MY and small mi will be different word. But we don't want that. That's why you lowercase it to make the meaning same. You make it the same word. Okay. You will see a little bit later why it is so important. Stop word remover. Okay. For some of the application, there are some common words like is a verb, then articles, a, the, they actually come very frequently. So you can remove those common ones. Okay. There are some other things like, for instance, sometimes there is a space and irregular spacing. You remove those spaces. So that's another form of processing. Stemming or lemmatization. Stemming বলতে বোঝানো হয়. So you see the run word, it can be running if it is continuous. But the basic word, the base word is actually run. Similarly, work can be working or work, but the base word is work. So if you want to understand what is the actual word, okay, ওই যে numerical representation যেটা কথা বলছিলাম, the numerical representation, work and work, they are supposed to be represent the same thing. Only difference is in the present or past tense, but the word is same. So when you have those kind of tasks, you perform this lemmatization. Okay. You want this work or work have the same meaning, same representation because they have the same meaning. Any question? Okay, let's move on. Now, an interesting idea. Okay, this is, you can see this is one of the earliest and simplest technique used in NLP. That is called n-gram. What is n-gram? N-gram is continuous sequence of items. Let's see. Unigram means one item. Okay. Bigram means contiguous, মানে হচ্ছে পাশাপাশি, ঠিক আছে? Two words together. Two words together, that is bigram. Bi মানে two. So two words together, you have bigrams. So here you have my name is Maximus. But my Maximus, এটা কি হবে একটা bigram?
No, sir.
হবে?
No.
No, sir.
No,
No,
হবে
sir.
না. It has to be contiguous, পাশাপাশি. Okay. So it has to be side by side. So that's why you have, these are the three bigrams possible. Then trigram means three words together. My name is Maximus, like this. 4-gram, my name is Maximus. You cannot have more than 4-gram for this sentence. For other sentence, you can have more. The question is how you can actually apply it. বলতে পারবে কেউ কিভাবে অ্যাপ্লাই করা যেতে পারে? কারো কোনো আইডিয়া? Anyone? আচ্ছা, look at this one.
প্যারাফ্রেজিং এর ক্ষেত্রে
Paraphrasing. আচ্ছা দেখো, n-gram capture local context and word order. This is important. Why it is important? You see, AI, okay, may not have seen this sentence before, my name is Maximus. But if you look, like when the AI has read thousands of books, think of it like this way, but it has definitely come across this trigram, my name is. ঠিক আছে না? So my name is Maximus, my name is John, my name is Rob, my name is this, my name is that, my name is E. ধরো একটা নাম দিয়ে দিলাম। So this is very common. So this trigram is common, but the next word can be different based on that is why. So previously remember একটা অ্যাপ্লিকেশন ছিল, এখন বলিনি, এই যে লাস্টেরটা, named entity recognition. It means that identify the name of a person, name of an object like this. So you can think of it like this way. Whenever AI sees this trigram, my name is, the next word is going to be the named entity. আমার কথা কি বোঝা গেছে? Are you following?
স্যার আরেকবার বলবেন?
আরেকবার বলবো? See, this is my name is Maximus. Okay, okay, পাইলাম. So the bigrams look something like this. My name is Maximus. The trigram looks like this. My name is or name is Maximus. আচ্ছা, তার মধ্যে you see this trigram, my name is a very common trigram. If you have, if the AI has seen lots of different books, then the trigram my name is can be very common. It has seen it multiple times. আচ্ছা, so when it has seen multiple times, it also know that right after this one, a word is going to be here. That word is going to represent a name, not something a meaningful word. You see, when you say chair, it is a meaningful word. It has a meaning. But name, like for instance, Maximus, okay, Maximus, or let's say Optimus, let's say Bond. These are named entity recognition. This is called named entity recognition. Identify the name of the object. So these are names that does not have any meaning. So you can train your AI to say that whenever this trigram appears, the next one is going to be a named entity. Okay, that's how, like from a new newspaper article, let's say if you have an article, you can try to identify named entity. This is one of the way to identify the named entity mentioned in that article. তার মানে ওই আর্টিকেলে কি কি এন্টিটি নাম বলা হয়েছে, কাকে নিয়ে আর্টিকেলটা লেখা হয়েছে, ওই জিনিসটা আইডেন্টিফাই করা হয়. So to identify what are the people that were being talked on in an article, that can be identified using this named entity recognition system. So this is one of them, one of the approach that can be used. Okay, any question? আচ্ছা, let's say now this also allows us to learn relationship. Okay, if I want to, let's say, predict a future word, okay, predict a future word, then also these grams can become very important, because you see, I think after that there can be sentence, but the next word is going to be that. I think that this is this, so this is a common. So like this way, you can predict something. Okay, look at this one. AI can find the most frequent n-grams in a corpus, then it can be used to predict the next words. Okay, so look at like this. I love the smell of Nepal in the, তারপর কি হইতে পারে? Guess করো. Anyone?
winter,
হ্যাঁ? In the, বলো. Anyone? In the? বোঝা যায় না. Can you write it in the chat?
The autumn.
In the autumn. Okay. Nepal মানে জানো?
Oh, sorry.
Nepal means like kerosene.
Oh, sorry.
Sir, in the morning.
In the morning, yes, good. Anyone else? In the evening? Okay, acha. What about the next one? Every piece of information in the world has been copied, backed up, except the human mind. The last analog device in a digital
World.
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 Era.
হ্যাঁ, আর কি?
Era.
Digital world.
Era, in a digital era, yes. So you see, you got some idea. So basically, when AI looks at large corpus, it tries to find what can be the possible scenario. So it tries to predict the most common thing that actually comes. So the most common is going to be in the morning or in the evening. It can be either of them. So it's like a probability. The one it finds the most probability, it will say this is the thing. So it is going to be the actual thing is, I love the smell of napalm in the morning. Okay. Acha. It's from one of the movie, Apocalypse Now. Acha. Now this one, except the human mind, the last analog device in a digital world. So digital era, digital world, you will find digital world is the most common. So just like looking at that bigram, digital world, this bigram is most common. It can predict that after this one, wall is going to be appear. আমার কথা বোঝা যাচ্ছে?
Yes,
Is
sir.
it clear? So this is like in a very small scope, and we can expand it in a very large scope. And when we expand it, instead of just predicting the few words, we can actually create a sentence from it. Okay. That is how AI actually creates a new sentence. Out of no hat, it actually writes sentences, new sentences. So that is actually like this is, you can say this is class one, and that is the university level. But this is where everything starts. And this is called language modeling. এই কাজটাকে বলা হয় language modeling. Okay. Predict next word, and through this process with lots of different things, you can actually generate a new sentence with the same way. Acha. So Ngram is a very simple approach, very limited. A little bit better is Markov model, বলছিলাম নাইট বাইস পড়ানোর সময়, or bag of words model. And nowadays we have more advanced models that is actually deep learning based, and those are actually used nowadays, and it has gone very very good. It has become very good in language modeling. Okay. Now your AI can easily create new sentences, very nice sentences. You can also write sentence. Okay, write a passage like a student. Okay, you when you give the assignment, you do it like this way. So, acha, let's look at an application of NLP. Now, NLP has lots of different application. I'm just going to this is just for your introduction. So I'm going to show you only one application. Let's try to understand sentiment analysis. So sentiment analysis means identify the emotional tone or the opinion expressed in the text. Okay. So for instance, acha, it can be positive, negative, or neutral. Let's say for 3 class for now. So basically the task is, this is one kind of text classification task. You are given a text, you have to classify it into either positive, negative, or neutral. And the overall task is sentiment analysis. Acha. Now, the phone is amazing. So this is a positive sentiment. The service was terrible. Negative sentiments. The product arrived yesterday. Neutral sentiment. The movie had great acting, but the story was boring. And there are some mixed. Now tell me, why this sentence is positive and why this one is negative? বলো।
Amazing, terrible,
me,
এসব ওয়ার্ডের
the
জন্য।
Yes, the presence of the word amazing makes it positive sentiment. The presence of the word terrible makes it negative sentiment. So basically, you see, if you search through lots of corpus, lots of data, you will find this positive sentiment, the words for positive sentiment. These words, this phone is, this is neutral. It does not have any positive or negative to it. But this one actually makes the sentence positive. This one makes the sentence negative. So you can you can think of it like a list. And think of it like a list of words that can be positive sentiment like this. Okay. But it can get more complex. We'll see a little bit later. Acha, chalo dekhi. The presence of words like good, nice, great, love, it is positive sentiment. I love fishing. Okay. So the movie was boring. So bad sentiments. So negative sentiments. There are presence of words like this. And the approach that you can use, naive bias, RN, and BART. Okay, let's see how naive bias can be used in this context. We have seen the naive bias algorithm in another context previously. There was a math problem. We'll try to use the same one. Mone ache naive bias? So the naive bias algorithm had basically it used the reverse conditional probability. Okay. I think you have the equation পড়ানো হয়েছিল. If you have forgotten, তাহলে আরেকবার দেখে নিও. We try to predict the probability. So let's say, what is the probability that this film is great? This is positive sentiment. So it is like probability of that this sentence is positive given this is the sentence. Okay. So when you do that, you break it down into the words and try to say what is the positive, what is the probability that it is positive, what is the probability that it is negative. Acha. The one that will be higher probability, that's the answer. Acha. And the equation, night bias equation, যেটা করা হয়েছিল, this actually looks like this. Probability of positive multiplied by probability of given the sentence is positive. And this is something we actually collect from the historical information. We look at the historical sentence, historical purpose, and see how many positive sentences had these words or how many negative sentences has these words. Based on this probability, we try to find this using a reverse condition. Acha. So let's see. So basically, this is this. So that is like we can divide it into what is the probability that a positive sentence had this, positive sentence had feel, positive sentence has is, positive sentence has great. These things will be very common, but this one we'll find it has a high probability because a positive sentence having great in it, it will be very common. Okay. Whenever there is a great word in a sentence, it will be likely to be positive. And in the opposite is also true. Whenever bad is there, it is negative. And that is how we can actually use this probability to get the answer. Is the concept clear? If the concept is not clear, you forgot a night bias algorithm. So আবার night bias করতে যাবা যে ম্যাথটা করানো হয়েছিল. The math I actually showed you earlier. Use the same context. Try to do this night bias algorithm, how night bias can be used for this task. Okay, sentiment analysis. এটা করবা। আচ্ছা। Now let's look at an
এটা
example. The
থেকে কি
movie
ম্যাথ
was
আসতে পারে?
হ্যাঁ বলো।
এই যে এটা থেকে কি ম্যাথ আসতে পারে?
হ্যাঁ ম্যাথ আসতে পারে। নাইট বাস ম্যাথ সেম ওয়ে।
না, এই যে ল্যাঙ্গুয়েজের মডেলটা দিয়ে কি ম্যাথ আসতে পারে?
ওই যে
মানে
ওখানে যেমন কাউন্ট করছো ফ্রিকোয়েন্সি, এখানে তোমাকে ফ্রিকোয়েন্সি কাউন্ট করতে হবে সেন্টেন্স থেকে। সেম থিং।
জি
একটু
স্যার।
সার্চ দিয়ে দেখে এটা এক্সাম্পল পেয়ে যাবো, অনলাইনে পেয়ে যাবো। আচ্ছা, নাও example, let's say another example. The movie was not great. Okay. Now here is the catch. So far we have seen the presence of great says that it is positive sentiment. But now suddenly this is positive or negative?
Negative.
Negative.
Negative. Why?
Not great.
Not great.
Yes. The presence of this one. Okay. Just because of a negative indicator, the whole sentence become negative. Acha. So NB, naive Bayes algorithm often struggles with negation because it treats words independently. You see, previously আমরা কি independently probability নিছি না? Yes. So that's why naive Bayes algorithm may not be able to understand this relation between the words. It does not take into consideration the relation between words. That's why the performance from naive Bayes algorithm for sentiment analysis will be poor. That's why your RNN or LSTM comes. See, LSTM means long short-term memory. Memory means what is the word that came before, what is the word that come after. You take into consideration that thing as well. So the dependency is there. That's why these algorithms actually perform very well compared to this traditional line-based algorithm. Achha. Now, this one. Not all treasure is silver and gold made. এটা কি? Negative না positive?
Negative.
হ্যাঁ? Negative. Achha. See, just because it has a not in it, it looks like a negative sentiment. But think of it like this way. This not does not mean something negative. It is not saying something negative. Rather, it is giving you a philosophical idea from Jack Sparrow that not all the treasure in this world is silver or gold. Okay, there are other treasures in this world as well. So it is not actually, you see, sentiment, not meaning. Sentiment is not negative. Sentiment is positive here. Or you can say mostly neutral, but it is never a negative sentiment here. So that's why it becomes much more interesting in NLP. You see, ওখানে বলছিলাম, the semantics is where things get more complex. So if you put it in a night bias classifier, it is going to say it is negative. Even your RNN algorithm might say it negative, but actually, if it is a well-trained, only then it can understand that this is not showing you a negative sentiment, but a little bit different. So you see, the polarity is positive, the emission is reflective or wise, giving you like idea, philosophical idea, and the tone is philosophical. So the sentiment can go much more deeper. So to go much more deeper, you have to train a much more complicated algorithm. Okay, much more on a much more larger purpose. Acha. Any question up to now?
আচ্ছা, পোলারিটি পজিটিভ বলতে কি বোঝাচ্ছে?
পোলারিটি পজিটিভ মনে হচ্ছে সেন্টিমেন্টটা হচ্ছে পজিটিভ, এটা নেগেটিভ কিছু বলতেছে না তোমাকে, তোমাকে একটা পজিটিভ আইডিয়া দিচ্ছে।
আচ্ছা।
ঠিক আছে, আচ্ছা। নাও ওয়ার্ড রিপ্রেজেন্টেশন ইন এনএলপি। আচ্ছা, the process of converting words into numerical vectors. Okay, আচ্ছা, that is called পরে বলতেছি। So the words or text that you have, we can represent it in many different ways. One of the way to do it is using a vector. Okay, there are several ways. One of them is called using a vector, numerical vector. এটা নিয়ে একটু পরে আসতেছি। আচ্ছা, let's see. A model cannot process the sentence directly, it must be converted into vectors. Okay, basically it cannot convert into মানে হচ্ছে it cannot work directly, you have to convert into a number, but only one number. If you represent, think of it like this way, if you represent every word with just one number, there will be 10,000 different 10,000 20,000 words. Each one will have different numbers, but there will be no relation among the numbers. আমার কথা কি বোঝা যাচ্ছে? দাঁড়াও। আচ্ছা, basically we have to use the word through numbers. আচ্ছা, তো আমি যদি এইভাবে শুরু করি, এ হচ্ছে 1, এন হচ্ছে 2, এন টি হচ্ছে 3, এন ডি হচ্ছে 4, ওকে, এন আর কি আছে, অ্যান্সার হচ্ছে 10, ওকে, এন ডট ডট হচ্ছে 20, লাইক দিস। ইফ ইউ ডু ইট লাইক দিস ওয়ে, তারপর হচ্ছে মনে করো যে বাই হচ্ছে 240, লাইক দিস। If you continuously do this like this way, every word using just a number, then it becomes much more বলবো খাপ ছাড়া। খাপ ছাড়া ইংলিশ, হোয়াট ইজ দ্য ইংলিশ? এখন আইডি লেখা লাগবে না, পরে লিখবা। খাপ ছাড়া ইংরেজি কি? র্যান্ডম।
Out of place.
র্যান্ডম, আনরিলেটেড।
Irrelevant.
হ্যাঁ,
Irrelevant.
র্যান্ডম, আনরিলেটেড। হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ, ঠিক আছে, র্যান্ডম আনরিলেটেড নাম্বারস। সো বেসিক্যালি ইফ উই টেক অল দ্য ওয়ার্ডস and just try to replace it with just one number, it becomes random, no relation between two words, unrelated numbers. Why relation? You see, think of it like this way. You have a word king, you have a word queen, you have a word he, you have a word she, right? আবার চিন্তা করে দেখো, you have the word, let's say, God, then prophet. Now, if these were random numbers, there won't be any relation between the words. Let's say it is 230, this is 900. Is there any relation? No. But think of it like this way. We want it to represent in such a way so that whatever way we represent, whatever number, through number we represent king, whatever number we represent queen, they should be somewhat similar. The relation between words that is apparent to us should also be apparent in the numbers as well. We want that relation to be apparent in the numbers as well. Same goes for he and she. Same goes for God and prophet, because these two be related. So this cannot be done if we represent using a number. So what we do, we represent them using a vector. Okay, a vector of numbers, not just one, multiple numbers. Okay, so we try to follow it like this way. One value, there will be values like this. So let's say for king, you have a vector like this. For queen, you have another vector like this. What the values is going to be it পরে আসতেছি, but the idea is, you see, remember vector summation or vector. The idea is this vector that you have, if you try to place it in an n-dimensional grid, let's just for assume two-dimensional grid. For two dimension, আচ্ছা
স্যার
হ্যাঁ বলো।
স্যার এই ভেক্টরের পার্টটা স্যার আরেকবার একটু শুরু থেকে।
আচ্ছা, বলতেছি। আচ্ছা, instead of using one number, okay, we try to represent it using vectors. Okay, vectors of numbers. Let's say 10, 100, 1000, 5000 থাকলো মনে করো। The queen Okay. Okay. Now think of it like this way. For this one, 10 and 9 is close. 100 and 102 is close. This is exactly the same. This is something closer. Okay. The numbers are something closer, but not one number, but multiple numbers. Acha. So the basic idea, I mean, idea the idea is if I put it in a n-dimensional vector, let's say for 2 dimension, if for king I have this point, the king queen has to be something in the close direction. Okay. The distance between these two has to be closer compared to king queen RPSL. Present. Let's say for instance this one. This one will be a larger distance. আচ্ছা আগে বোঝো আমি দাঁড়াও তোমাকে আরেকটু দেখাই তাহলে বুঝবো আস্তে আস্তে So approaches for this numerical representation, one hot encoding ভালো না, bag of word ভালো না, TF-IDF is relatively good. Word embeddings is what I'm talking about. Okay, let's look at this one. Word embeddings are a vector representation of words in a continuous space using values like this. Idea is similar words will have similar vectors and they will close together in that space. Now look at this one, this figure. The vectors that you have, the vector point that you have for man and woman will have something closer. King and queen will be closer. Walked and walking will have some closer distance compared to running because these are similar words. So instead of having one number to represent, you represent it using multiple numbers. And there will be something slightly different, but similar word will have closer vector. The distance will be closer. So let's look at this one. Look at this one. If I put the words in a vector space, okay, in the word space, which words will be closer, which one will be larger distance? Hello?
Breakfast, lunch, dinner, both.
These three should be closer, and these three should be closer, right? So randomly, if you look at random words, they can be different. But the idea of vector representation is that if I try to make the distance, okay, from the center, these two will be closer, these three will be closer because their meaning are similar. আমার কথা বোঝা গেছে? Did you get the basic idea?
Yes.
আচ্ছা. So try to understand this thing. আমি আবার বলতেছি. See, words are mapped to a relatively low dimensional vectors, 100 to 300 dimensions. Similar meanings will have the vectors that are close compared to others that are distance. Then this model is called word to vect. আসো দেখি দেখি Okay, let's share screen. Okay. আচ্ছা. Now, so let's say you have the word work. আমি এটার জন্য ভেক্টরের ভ্যালুগুলো দিলাম 50, 100, 5000, 10,000. ঠিক আছে. Now work, it should have something similar. So let's say one can be exactly similar because the base word is same. Instead of 100, it is let's say minus 100 because this one represent the present tense. This one is exactly 5,000. This one let's say 9,090 just because. Now works. This one is 50. This one is 100. This one is minus 5,000. This is 995. Okay. Working. This is 50. This is 100. 100. This is 5,000. This is 10,015. Do you see any pattern here? Key pattern. Look at these numbers. This one represents the base word. ওই যে মনে আছে লেমাটাইজেশন দেখেছিলাম, the base word. The base word for all these are same. That's why they have same values in the first dimension. Okay, this one represents the tense. So this is 100 positive. This is minus 100 because it represents past tense. This is present tense তাই positive, present tense তাই positive. Okay. Then this represents হচ্ছে singular or plural. This is 5,000. This is singular, or I don't know. Let's say this is plural. That's why minus 5,000, like this. So this is how much different the word is from one another. So this is very close. That's why this is close. This is like this. So that's how the values actually represent some form of relation. What is the exact relation you don't know, because that is created through training. By training your neural network, you actually try to find this vector representation. এটাকে বলা হয় word to vec. Okay, এটা তৈরি করা হয়েছিল I think around 2015 or 16. Okay, so if you now take a new word, let's say word হলো তারপর মনে করো jump. Is it going to be 50 at first? 50 হবে? হ্যাঁ?
হ্যাঁ
হবে
স্যার
না স্যার
No, it is going to be something different. So this is, let's say, 90. Okay, it is 90, then it is positive in the present tense 180, then let's say 9,000, then 90,000. Okay, similar way, these are relations are dependent on the first one. Okay, this way, instead of just using one number, you are using multiple numbers to represent many different things. Okay, so this is the idea. Just like this one, there will be ideas of, like, for instance, gender, then workspace, many relation. Okay, that's how you try to represent. So when you take a large corpus, okay, when the AI is trained, it is trained to find similar words like this. So if you look at that example, the figure that I actually showed you can see, acha. So these things are coming together. এখানে আরেকটা image ছিল, ওটা কই গেল? That is because they are actually similar. They are coming together. So in the word vector, they will be similar. And you can see these are like relation is Japan to Tokyo, country to capital relations. Okay. আরেকটা ছবি ছিল, মানে কোথায় যাবো, মানে বাদ দিয়ে দিয়েছিলাম, দিতে একটু ভুলে গেছি। আচ্ছা, যাই হোক। So that is the basic idea of word embeddings. Basically, every word represent using a vector, just like numerical representation, but not just one number, but multiple numbers, creating a vector. That makes it much more efficient, okay, to work. You can add the semantics idea of semantics can be incorporated in this way into the embeddings. Acha. Any question up to now? Any question? Acha, so we are almost done with this one. So some of the challenges, okay. So ambiguity, this is one of the primary challenges. There are lots of ambiguity in the language. Sarcasm means, okay, when we speak, we always use sarcasm in the language, so it gets much more complex. Variation comes from language. You see, even from the Bengali language. So if you are from, like, Sylhet, so if someone speaks Siloti language, মাতামাতি করিও না. So it gets very different than the primary language, what is called Bangla. You go for Chittagong, okay, Chatgaya language, so it's extremely different than your primary Bangla language. So the variation, even with just simple Bengali language, there can be lots of variation. So things get much more complex when you try to go much deeper. So that's why NLP tasks are very challenging. Okay, let's see. Ambiguity in language. Okay, let's look at this word. I saw the man with the telescope. Okay, now who has the telescope, me or the man? বলো।
Me.
কি মনে হয়?
দ্য ম্যান
The
I
man.
saw the man with the telescope. আমি টেলিস্কোপ দিয়ে মানুষটাকে দেখছি। Okay, I saw the man with the telescope, or the man was holding the telescope.
The man was holding the telescope.
Okay, that's why the ambiguity comes. Okay, you have no idea to know it. Only the person who spoke that sentence, only he knows. Okay, so there is some ambiguity, means your classification cannot be perfect. Okay, that's why it is more very difficult. You see, the context, in which context he actually said this, only that person knows. So like in cat versus dog classification, you can say I can want to have 100% classification accuracy, and you can still have 100% accuracy. But when it comes to this language, it is impossible to have 100% accuracy because this kind of ambiguity. আমার কথা বোঝা গেছে? Okay, আচ্ছা, তারপর দেখো অ্যাপল রিলিজড এ নিউ প্রোডাক্ট। ওকে, সো ইফ ইউ হ্যাভ দ্য when you know the meaning of it, then you can understand this actually means the company, not the fruit. Apparent, just by apparent, if you don't have this, the meaning of the words to you, the computer, the AI will actually confuse themselves whether it means the company or the fruit. But since when you have something called WordNet, this is like a database of English words. Okay, you have something similar for Bengali language as well. So it actually shows you the connection between the words. Okay, this helps to identify the relations more clearly. So look at this one. এটাই খুঁজতেছিলাম। See, this is the vector representation. Through the vector representation, you can connect multiple words like this way. So you can see book, okay, rule book. Now ledger, account book, book of accountant, something similar. Then you have Quran, okay. You have holy scriptures, okay, Christian Bible like this. So these are also books related to this one. Okay, also this one, production. So basically, one word is how it is connected to other words. This is represented like this way. Okay. আচ্ছা, any question? Any question? Okay. আচ্ছা, now I saw her duck. এখন meaning কি? What do you think the meaning is? She lowered her head or she owns a duck? কোনটা?
He owns a duck.
Confused because you don't know. You don't know because there is a ambiguity is there. Okay, some form of ambiguity. So you have no idea to know what that person actually meant. So this happens. Okay, yeah, when it comes to dealing with NLP, this is one of the like challenges in NLP. This is always there. Some form of ambiguity is always there. আচ্ছা, আর কি হইতে পারে? Now, sarcasm. Sarcasm is another thing we used very common nowadays. Okay, and when it comes to sarcasm, it makes it extremely complex. Extremely complex because you see, to understand the sarcasm, you need the context, you need the domain knowledge. It also varies with culture, the tone, as well as the polarity. Okay, so basically, this is one of the most challenging LNP tasks. Okay, from language to language it varies, from culture to culture it varies. So even now, okay, even now, if you try to give some type, want your ChatGPT to understand sarcasm, it sometimes fails to understand. You can test it. It is still not got that good. Okay. So if you look at, for instance, great, my laptop just crashed again. Sentiment, negative, but presence key. I am saying great, but not saying that it is great, but it is like I'm saying it based on sarcasm. Okay, so the AI, okay, if it does not understand sarcasm, it will going to say it is going to something positive. So a small sarcasm in this case. That's why NLP model struggles with sarcasm, because the literal words contradict the intended meaning. So whatever I'm saying and the meaning can be extremely different when it comes to sarcasm. So this is another complexity. আচ্ছা, নাও এটার মানে কি বলতে পারবে? টাইম ফ্লাইস লাইক অ্যান অ্যারো, ফ্রুট ফ্লাইস লাইক এ ব্যানানা। এটা কি মিনিংটা ঠিক আছে? Is the syntax and semantics correct?
No, sir.
ঠিক নাই?
ফ্রুট ফ্লাই বলতে কি মানে ফ্রুট ফ্লাই বোঝানো হয়েছে নাকি?
Yes, it means fruit fly. Fruit fly is an insect. Fruit flies. Okay, fruit flies like a banana. Okay, it does not mean fruit flies like a banana. No. Fruit fly is the subject here and like a banana. So ambiguities can be in different terms. So that's where different ambiguity comes. Okay. At least আশা করি বুঝতে পারছো, at least you have understand that why NLP is much more complicated. Okay. আচ্ছা, any question? So these are some of the techniques that you have: RNN, LSTM, GRU. Okay, transformer. Now you have BART. Okay, now then you have GPT. That is actually a part of LLM, large language model, that actually invented just like in 2020. তখন থেকে শুরু হয়েছে আর কি। Now you have different version, different years. Okay, so that is basically today's class. Any question? কারো কোনো question? Okay, if not, let's see.